Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Alliterations. It being December, this is going to be the last episode of the year. I will be back in 2025 in January. Uh, Not sure what that book's going to be about, but today I'm going to be discussing uh, Ayn Rand's Anthem. So this is a 1938 uh, book, published 1938 in Great Britain, and then the 1940s, I think, just after World War II, here in the United States. Uh, this book is quite short, um, about 100 pages. This copy is a little bit bigger um, because at the end of it has a last 100 pages or so, maybe even more, honestly, uh, is a facsimile of her first edition of it. And then how she edited it for being published here in America versus in England. But I quite like that book. This book, it was a very short, obviously, and very easy read. Uh, you know, I was talking to my wife about it. The way I would describe it, I guess, is a less fleshed out version of 1984. 1984 came out 1948, so about 10 years after Anthem. Uh, I have no idea if George Orwell ever read Anthem or not, but uh, I just thought it was kind of interesting. I picked it up at the library. It was on one of the shelves. It was recommended by a librarian, and that's really the only reason why I picked it up. I'll admit it. Uh, that and I'd never read anything by Ayn Rand before, and I figured this was be a good introduction to her. If any for other works I like this, I would definitely like it. It's a very simple read, a very easy read. But like I said, back to the point of it being similar, maybe a less fleshed out version of 1984. This book is real interesting. It starts off with uh, being that sort of dystopian lack of freedom, lack of individuality. It's all the collective. What do you do for uh, the man, the government, the community, uh, and then eventually it turns into page 75 or so, turns into kind of Walden-ish reading. Uh, the main character, this man, Equality is his name, uh, runs off into the woods with his girlfriend, Liberty, uh, and they start a colony out in the woods away from the city, and they rediscover their individuality and what it means to be free and what it means to not have somebody tell you what to do. One of the kind of interesting lines um, was something like, where is it? Where is it? To be free, a man must be free of his brothers. That is freedom. This and nothing else. Uh, and so, in that way, too, while I liked this book, and while I liked how simple it is to read, how easy it was to read, after having read 1984, Brave New World, and other dystopian um, works, even more modern dystopian YA type fiction, The Hunger Games or whatever. This one seems maybe overly simplistic and not particularly profound. Obviously, Ayn Rand is known for objectivism, the Fountainhead, uh, things like that, and Atlas Shrugged. but this one is not one of her more well-known pieces, and I can kind of see why. Uh, it seems like a very, very high school level book. Um, when there's nothing wrong with that. But even a non-high school, even a 12 or 13 will probably be able to get behind this and understand it. Something like Animal Farm or something like that probably is at the same level as Anthem. Which is not to say that it's a bad book. Again, there's a lot of, you can see the thought process behind it, and you can see the snapshot in time. This was written in the 1930s. I believe Ayn Rand had already come to America. She fled uh, communist Russia, the Soviet Union. Uh, Hitler's rising in Germany, the rise of fascism, which also is all about community, just like communism is. Uh, and so this book, like 1984, like A Brave New World, like whatever, any of a lot of these books in that era, or The Rings, maybe even you could say, is about finding that individuality, finding how you, as a person, as an individual, can make a difference in the world more so than just you as a community can, or you are just a part of a community. And so I get where that is and where it's coming from there. And like I said, as a snapshot there of 1935 ish America or Great Britain, I like that idea of it. Uh, and then the writing, I also appreciated it. I never had, I don't believe I ever read anything come to mind at least. It's written in the um, first person plural. So it's all we's. We are uh, doing this. We are saying that. We are thinking XYZ. And it's interesting because, that sets the reader within the community. Equality is a street sweeper. That's equality's job. Equality always has the same route and always does the same thing and always, you know, sweeps the same block or what, that sort of thing. And we, as the readers, know exactly what we, as in equality, is doing. Uh, and that's, like I said, that's a good way to make sure that we as readers know exactly where we are in the story and exactly the point that Ayn Rand is trying to make. And then only in the last 20, 25 pages, when it kind of becomes more Walden-esque, does Ayn Rand switch to I statements. Equality instead is no longer we. Equality is I, because equality has found its freedom uh, free of its brothers. Uh, and this is freedom and nothing else. Uh, you know, and so like I really appreciate that aspect of it. Similarly, the everybody else is referred to as they. It's not her, it's not she, it's not him or his or anything like that. It's they. Doesn't matter if you're speaking to a man or a woman, child, anything else. It's they, they. Uh, and I like that. I was thinking about that, in you know, today's world, they is used a lot um, amongst the transgender community and non-binary community and that sort of thing. And I wonder if, and not knowing much about that sort of part of the world, that community, I wonder if there would be an interesting reading and interesting interpretation of Anthem within that community with that sort of lens to it. Uh, Me personally, I like to stick to just what the text says, and I always like to think about how this sort of classic literature can affect our lives. And so ultimately, I guess what it comes down to is that, like 1984, Anthem is a rallying point for all of us who are questioning what freedom is. Do we know that we're free? How do we know that we're free? What does freedom mean to us uh, as individuals and also as a community? Uh, and so in that way, I really appreciated uh, this work. I would highly recommend people read it. Again, you can easily get through this in a day. Um, Easily, it's super easy read. It's only like 10 chapters. Most of them, most of them are 5 or 6 pages. And then there's a couple of really long ones. Um, so 100% would recommend this book. I'm looking forward to checking out more Ayn Rand uh, works in the future. Uh, Somewhere on one of these shelves, I have Atlas Shrugged. I would like to read that. It's quite a bit larger book, it's my understanding, but that's okay. Um, so yeah, Anthem by Ayn Rand would highly recommend. Go check it out. Get through it in a weekend. If you're interested in, like I said, changes how the editing process works, get this copy, this edition of the Centennial edition, and it'll be really easy to find out how changes were made or whatnot. So, anyways, thanks again for stopping by. I'm wishing you all a very happy New Year. Looking forward to seeing you in 2025 in January.